happened to Summer?
No.
Do you know who took Summer?
No.
Home when you first come
No,
home.
I'm not doing all that. I'm not going all the way back. I can't do this.
So listen,
You know what I mean?
they're trying to
No.
help. They're trying to help.
It's not helping me.
I know, but they might.
For years ago, under the blinding glare of television lights, a father stood trembling. His voice cracked, his hands shook, and the world watched as he begged for the return of his 5-year-old daughter, Summer Wells. A little girl with golden hair and bare feet, last seen playing outside her Tennessee home. By nightfall, she was gone. The father's pain looked real. His words sounded sincere. We wanted to believe him, because the alternative was unthinkable. No one wanted to imagine that a parent could know more than they said. But time exposes everything. Days became weeks. Weeks turned into years. And as hope faded, so did the illusion that everyone searching for Summer was searching for truth. Because while the world prayed, he knew. While strangers searched the woods, he knew. And when her name echoed through headlines and prayer vigils, he still knew. Now, after 4 years of silence, he's finally spoken. And what he said has shattered every piece of hope that remained. The clock struck 6 on a humid June evening in 2021 when everything in the quiet hills of Hawkins County, Tennessee, changed forever. 5-year-old Summer Wells, barefoot and full of life, was playing outside her family's home on Ben Hill Road. Her brothers were inside. Her grandmother tended to plants nearby. And her mother, Candace, said she had just walked Summer back into the house. But within minutes, she was gone, vanished, without a sound, without a trace, and without a single witness who could say where she went. Search teams flooded the mountains. Helicopters circled. Infrared drones scanned through dense canopies, and dogs combed the rugged terrain. But no scent trail lasted longer than a few feet. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed her. The Wells property sits deep in the Appalachian foothills, miles of forest, ridges, and creeks where a small child could easily disappear. But as days turned into weeks, something didn't add up. Experienced searchers said there was no way a 5-year-old could have traveled that far unseen. No footprints, no clothing, no signs of struggle, nothing. The family pleaded on camera, their voices trembling through televised appeals. Summer's father, Don Wells, insisted she didn't just wander off. He believed she was taken, abducted right from their yard. But by who and why? The case spiraled from a simple missing child alert into one of the most haunting mysteries in modern American true crime. Every new detail only deepened confusion. Law enforcement called it the most extensive search in Tennessee's history. Yet there was still no Summer. From that moment on, a question burned through every home and headline. How could a child vanish from her own front yard, with an entire community searching, and still leave behind no trace at all? From the moment Summer Wells was reported missing, the small town of Rogersville transformed overnight into the epicenter of one of the largest search operations in Tennessee history. Within hours, emergency crews, church volunteers, K-9 units, and even off-duty miners arrived to comb through the thick Appalachian brush. It wasn't just a search. It was a mission. Everyone was driven by the same hope, that somehow Summer had simply wandered off and would be found safe. But that hope started to fade fast. The terrain was unforgiving. Steep ridges, tangled vines, ravines that swallowed sound. The scent dogs picked up traces near the house, leading down a wooded path, but then the trail just stopped. No drag marks, no clear direction, no sign of distress. It was like walking through fog that refused to clear. Helicopters hovered overhead, equipped with infrared cameras that could detect the faintest hint of body heat. Nothing. Divers searched nearby ponds and creeks. Nothing. After days turned into a week, investigators admitted the truth no one wanted to hear. We have no leads. Still, the community refused to give up. Churches opened their doors for her. Volunteers. Flyers with Summer's smiling face covered every gas station and streetlight. People tied purple ribbons to trees, her favorite color, as a symbol of faith that she'd come home. But behind the scenes, investigators were growing uneasy. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said publicly that every possibility is on the table, That included abduction. That included foul play. And then came the whispers from searchers, locals, even online forums. Stories about inconsistencies in family statements, about timeline gaps, about the strange way the dogs lost Summer sent right at the road as if she had been lifted into a vehicle. By the second week, the case was no longer just a search for a lost child. It had become something darker, more complex, a puzzle of contradictions and emotions. Because if Summer didn't wander off, then someone, somewhere, knew what really happened to her. Just when the search for Summer Wells seemed to hit a dead end, the narrative around her disappearance took a chilling and unexpected turn. The focus, once on the woods and creeks surrounding Ben Hill Road, began to shift inside the family's home. Detectives began quietly re-interviewing family members, probing timelines that didn't quite line up. Summer's mother, Candace Bly, said she last saw her daughter walking back into the house from the garden where they'd helped Grandma repot some flowers. But within 2 minutes, Summer had vanished. Just 2 minutes, and yet no one saw or heard a thing. To investigators, that was nearly impossible. The Wells property is small and open. Anyone walking or driving up the hill could be seen from multiple angles. So how could someone abduct a child in broad daylight, without a single witness, and disappear before anyone noticed? Then came the inconsistencies. Some of Candace's early statements didn't match those given later on. There were also rumors of a brief trip to a nearby swimming hole that afternoon, where Summer was reportedly seen playing. That detail wasn't initially mentioned to police. And when it surfaced, people began to question what really happened before they came home. The media frenzy exploded. Online sleuths flooded YouTube and Reddit, dissecting every pause and gesture in the Wells family interviews. Some said Don and Candace looked distraught. Others said they looked rehearsed. The more they spoke, the less the public seemed to believe them. Then, a bombshell. Child Protective Services quietly removed Summer's 3 brothers from the home weeks after her disappearance. No official explanation was given, but it fueled even more speculation. And through it all, Don Wells continued to insist that somebody took her. His voice cracked in interviews. "We know she didn't. Walk away. We just want her back." But investigators were no longer sure if the threat came from outside, or if the answer had been hiding inside that house all along. Every word Don and Candace said was dissected. Every gesture in their interviews was slowed down, replayed, and analyzed. The way Candace looked away when asked about the timeline. The way Don's voice broke when he spoke about losing his whole world. Some believed these were signs of heartbreak. Others saw signs of guilt. Then came the allegations of substance abuse, of instability, of tension within the home long before Summer disappeared. Don openly admitted on national television that both he and Candace had struggled. He talked about his faith, his regrets, and the people online who he said want to destroy us. But even as he defended himself, something about his interviews kept viewers divided. And then there was the red truck. Authorities had appealed to the public for information about a red Toyota pickup seen in the area around the time of Summer's disappearance. But the lead went nowhere. The truck, like Summer, had vanished. Investigators stayed tight-lipped. Sheriff Lawson confirmed that no one had been cleared, and everyone, even family, remained under suspicion. That statement changed everything. It fueled YouTube discussions, podcasts, and community debates. Was this a case of parental negligence, a targeted abduction, or something much darker that the family refused to admit? Meanwhile, the Wells property was searched again, this time with cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar. Still nothing, but the silence was deafening. No body, no clue, no closure. And the longer the mystery lingered, the more people began to wonder if someone close to Summer, maybe someone who loved her, knew far more than they were saying. Because in cases like this, the truth rarely hides in the woods. It hides in plain sight. 3 years have passed since the day 5-year-old Summer Wells vanished from her family's Tennessee home. And still, there are no arrests, no confirmed sightings, and no trace of her. Yet, her story continues to haunt the nation like an echo that refuses to fade. The purple ribbons tied around trees in Hawkins County are weathered now. their color fading under the southern sun. The search posters appealed from the store windows, replaced by newer faces. But to the people who were there, who searched the mountains day and night, Summer's name still lingers in every prayer and every unanswered question. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says the case remains active. Agents have conducted hundreds of interviews, followed up on thousands of tips, even revisited old evidence with new technology. But no matter how many times they return to Ben Hill Road, the result is always the same: silence. For Don and Candace Wells, that silence is unbearable. Don has spoken publicly about his faith, that he believes God will one day reveal what happened. Candace, however, has withdrawn almost entirely, rarely appearing in public. The home once filled with children's laughter now sits quiet at the top of the hill, guarded by memories and grief. Meanwhile, online communities keep the case alive. Some see themselves as digital detectives, others as defenders of truth. They debate every second of footage, every word of law enforcement briefings, convinced the answer lies in the smallest overlooked detail. But through all the noise, one fact remains: a little girl disappeared on a summer day in 2021, and nobody has been able to explain how. There's a haunting truth to that kind of mystery, because when a child vanishes, it doesn't just fracture a family. It fractures an entire town's sense of safety, its belief in answers, its faith in justice. So tonight, as the mountains of Tennessee grow quiet again, the question still hangs in the air like mist over the ridge. Where's Summer Wells? And will the world ever truly know what happened on that hill? Summer's face now lives in two realities: the smiling child we remember, and the age-progressed image of the girl she might have become. Two faces, one stolen future. Her story isn't just about one family's secrets. It's about every missing child whose voice was silenced by someone who should have protected them. And if we let the story fade, if we move on like it never mattered, then the silence wins again. So before you scroll, before you forget, remember this: justice doesn't happen by chance. It happens when people refuse to forget. Stay with us. Subscribe, not for views, not for clicks, but because keeping Summer's name alive means keeping pressure alive. Because the truth is only as strong as those who demand it. Stand with Summer. Stand with every missing child. And never, ever look away.